Hi, I'm Ricky Alexander.
And I'm Matt Farrell.
And welcome to On the Back Porch, Season 3.
Today's guest is Jon Weber, who is a wonderful piano player and walking and talking encyclopedia of jazz history. He has a wonderful album out called Simple Complex. It features Roy Hargrove, Kurt Elling, Gary Burton, a bunch of other amazing musicians. So definitely check that out. And let's go talking about everything.
One of my favorite things about playing with you is that whenever we finish a song, you're like, well, that song was written in this year by this person at this time and because of this thing. And it's like, so I always feel like I should take a notepad to gigs with you so I can learn all this stuff. What I'm interested in is, when did that start with you? Have you always been that way with music? Because I remember you also said that I asked you your influences and you were like, your sister's creative spurt in kindergarten. Like, when did you start piano? Did you start learning and memorizing things immediately? Was that something that came eventually?
All at the same time, correct. I was 3, I started playing piano, and my father is the kind of guy, for whatever reason, he likes to say, this is Lady is a Tramp, 1937. Mitzi Green sang it in Babes in Arms. Richard Rodgers wrote the music, Lorenz Hart wrote the words.
So from 3, you were doing that?
He
just
would say
immediately.
That. He'd say, I go out, ride my tricycle around the block or whatever, I'm going to go out to the sandbox, come back, he'd say, he'd play it again, and I'd say, what is this? Lady and the Tramp. No, Lady is a Tramp. Through sheer repetition, after a while, you start doing it, I can't unplug it. At this point, it is my father. It is just an inexorable part of my personality where I can't not identify it. If I know it, I don't mean to do it. I can't stop it.
Seems like you've even added on some other details, like where they lived and what their birthdays are. Is this part of the way your mind has learned to work, or have you always sort of been this way?
Yeah, I think my father's the kind of guy who liked to put things on shelves, geographically, chronologically. For example, Richard Rodgers was born on the 28th of June of 1902, son of Dr. Will Rodgers, no relation. And I've gone to that house, which is, I want to see, God, is it 3 or 5? 3 West 120th, right on what was Mount Morris Park, now it's Marcus Garvey Park. I've sat on those stairs where Richard Rodgers, the boy, had traipsed up and down a million times, and I thought, maybe I get Slaughter on 10th Avenue, maybe Some Enchanted Evening, will give something of Richard Rodgers, his molecules will somehow permeate mine, and I will do this Vulcan mind meld, but interestingly enough, he met Larry Hart in 1919 when Richard was still 16 and Larry was 23, and Richard gave Larry the deference that a 16-year-old does give a 23-year-old. Larry, as it turns out, son of Max and Frida Hart, lived at 55 West 119th Street, which is about 100 feet away as a crow flies. So it's kind of astonishing that these two didn't meet because they were neighbors.
Do you think it adds to what you do in piano? Do you think it's part of your artistic stuff with the music, is also understanding why and when? Do you think it fuels all together?
Absolutely. I think the research is a gigantic part of it. When I was 20, one time I needed to learn the verse to Laura, or at least I claimed. There was a singer I knew who said, I'm going to do the song Laura. And I said, oh, do you do the verse? She goes, no, do you know it? Oh, of course. I did not. I lied. And of course, in those days, we could go to the public library. We could probably I couldn't find it in the library. And I found Yellow Pages. Remember those? Yellow Pages, I looked through Los Angeles. I found David Raxon, music. And I thought, maybe I'll get a publicist. So I called the number, and I got a home answering machine. John, he said, this is David Raxon. Please leave your name and number and message. Hi, Mr. Raxon. My voice literally cracked 10 times. And I said, I'm just looking for the verse to Laura. I thought, oh God, I blew it. But lo and behold, I got a phone call later that night. John, this is David Raxon. Could you need the verse to Laura. What's your address? He not only sent me the verse, he did a handwritten on a piece of his manuscript paper. And I got to talk to him for a little while. I said, what kind of a guy was Charlie Chaplin? Because he scored Modern Times in 1936. He did, Secret Life of Walter Mitty, some of my favorite, Laura, some of my favorite films, whatever. So the research is a gigantic part of it. I love knowing the fun facts behind every one of these songs, if I can.
seems like a theme with your historical knowledge, sitting on the porch, soaking up the molecules. There's a real longing for connection with the heroes, that you have. How do you find when you feel most connected? What gives you the most joy and satisfaction?
I'll tell you something, when this stuff comes to life at a place like Mona's, which is a place that we've all been to, the great club on Avenue B, 224 Avenue B. When I go there and there's people in their 20s and 30s playing music from 100 years ago, I almost feel like I've stepped into a time machine and I've gone back and I've connected with these people, and there's an energy to it. And I remember hearing a Bix recording from 1925 and thinking, why does this sound so vital, so young? Well, he's 22 years old. That's why. In other words, this stuff has this energy, this propulsion, this energy to it that it just, I feel connected to it when I'm playing with young people like you and a joint like that.
It sounds like you've done some amazing work with a lot of fascinating people. I mean, you talk about some people that come into your gigs and you're ready,
I've got a game I started doing when I was a kid. It's called What Do You Give 'Em? I thought, what do you give him? What if Paul McCartney walks in? What if Francis Ford Coppola walks in? What do you give him? There's another game called What Don't You Give Him, right? Francis Ford Coppola, you don't give him, I want to strangle that piano player. But if you're lucky enough and you happen to see, for example, you ever heard the song Linda? 1946. It was written in 1942 by a guy named Jack Lawrence. When I go to sleep, I never count sheep. I count all the charms about Linda. The guy wrote it for his friends who had a daughter, a toddler. She's 1.5. A guy named Buddy Clark records it in 1946. Top of the charts. It was a big hit for about 17 weeks. In the next 5 years, approximately 3 million newborn girls are named Linda. It suddenly went from not even in the top 10 to the #1 name for many, many years. Now, fast forward to March 12, 1969. Linda, the girl, the toddler, is all grown up. She's getting married to Paul McCartney.
That's the Linda?
Yeah. It was written for her. So in other words, if Paul McCartney ever wanders into your gig, don't give him Yesterday, don't give him Live or Let Die, don't give him, if you want it, here it is. Give him Linda. He will stop in his tracks.
What did you play for Stevie Wonder?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, let me. Okay, briefly. It was October of 1996. I was playing at a hotel in Chicago. The first song of a 6-hour night, okay? And I'm playing Soft Winds, Fletcher Henderson. Do, 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 do. I can see somebody 100 feet away going like this. The corner of my eye, who's playing the piano? Who's playing the piano? Somebody in a long West African navy blue robe. I thought, oh geez, it's Stevie Wonder. So I finished the song, I go over, I said, Stevie, and I reached out, I said, Jon Weber, I'm playing the piano. I said, he goes, Soft Winds, it's an F. He's playing Fletcher Henderson's Count Basie. And I said, can I buy you a drink? He comes over, and I buy him a drink, and I said, what do you want to hear? He said, Amos Behavin'. I said, written by a guy whose birthday is 8 days after you. I said, really? I said, yeah, Fats Waller was born on, May 21st, 1904. You were born May 13th, 1950, Saginaw. Played about 4 or 5 songs. I finally got brave enough to say, do you feel like playing? And he did. He does this a lot, as I understand. He walks into lounges and gigs and he just plays because he likes to play. And he's very social, and he started playing Knocks Me Off My Feet from Songs in the Key of Life. Then he plays Someone Your Love. Then he plays Just Call to Say I Love You. He's playing Golden Lady. He says, John, come over here. Do the left hand. So I'm doing the chords, and he's playing the melody, and he's singing it. And we got about 100 people on their 1996 cell phones going like, Stevie Wonder's in the lounge. Next thing you know, we got 400 people in this room, and he stuck around for 4.5 hours. So what did I give him? I did play As for him, and I did play That Girl for him. And I was brave enough to do that, and that was just like chills up 4 limbs. He gave me one of those 10-minute handshakes so he doesn't let go. Because he can't see me, so he's checking out my pulse, and my pulse is doing that.
Told me that I was way out of my head the way he described it. He said it'd be better dead than alive. I didn't listen to his jive. I knew all along that he was all wrong, and I knew that he thought I was crazy, but I'm not. My analyst told me that I was right out of my head. He said, any treatment, but that easily led. He said, I was the type that was most inclined way and out of his sight to be out of my mind. And he thought I was nuts. No more ifs or ands or buts, oh no. They said, as a child I appeared a little bit wild with all my crazy ideas. But I knew it's happening, I knew I was a genius. What's so strange if you know that you're a wizard at 3? I know that this was meant for me. They said, little Georgia was supposed to sleep tight. That's why I drank a fifth of vodka one night. My parents got a friend who didn't know what to do, but I saw some crazy seeds before I came to. Now do you think I was crazy? I may have been only 3, but I was swinging. They held the Eggman bound. They held the Edison on the Einstein. So why should I feel sorry if you just couldn't understand the reasoning and the logic that went on in my head? I hit a brain news and they just left the level me when I refused to ride on all those double-decker buses, all because there was no driver on the top. Told me that I was right out of my head. He said I need treatment, but I'm not that easily led. He said I was the type that was most inclined way out of his sight to be out of my mind. And he thought I was nuts. No more ifs or ands or buts. My analyst told me that I was right out of my head, but I said, dear doctor, I think that it's you instead, cause I have got a thing that's unique and new. It proves that I've got the last laugh on you, cause instead of one head, I got 2. And you know 2 heads are better than 1.